Today, packing for Costa Rica for an epic workshop adventure, plus my initial thoughts on the new Nikon ZF Firmware 2.0 update, and what it says about Nikon's firmware updates in general. It's Hudson. Welcome to this week's video. I could not be more excited. I am gearing up, packing up for Costa Rica, and that is always an amazing workshop. I'll be with David Archer, Dennis Valverde, and an amazing group of workshop participants. And I'm going to walk you through what's coming along on that trip, what's going in Carryon. Believe it or not, everything here is going in Carryon. Carryon small bag, Carryon big bag, and then the few things that are going in the check luggage. And this is one trip where what I'm checking is very, very small in comparison to what I'm carrying on. It's all just too precious. So we'll go through that. I want to talk really briefly. The three cameras that are going are my Z9, my ZF, and my Leica Q3, which basically I don't go anywhere without. And I want to talk just a little bit about the firmware, which just launched this week for the ZF. And, you know, honestly, there were two things that I desperately wanted in the ZF, and they gave me both of those, plus kind of a surprise with bird detect autofocus. In a camera that I wouldn't really consider designed around the fastest action and sports type shooting wildlife. What I really, really wanted with this camera were two things that I saw in, the Z6 III, which were exposure delay mode. This camera originally launched without exposure delay mode, and I think Nikon actually listened to me and others in realizing, everybody that shoots landscapes with the camera these days really loves the exposure delay mode. The ability to hit the shutter and have the camera wait once you've taken your hand off, how long you tell it from 0.2 of a second through 3 seconds, fire the frame without any shake-induced blurring. So they gave us that. You can just throw it into the eye menu. I will be doing a full rundown of this firmware in next week's video, and I'll also release a new updated settings file so you can load that settings file into your camera and then run through that quick walkthrough of the new features with me. And then the other thing that they added that I just love is the half press to cancel zoom in manual focus. Well, that sounds convoluted, right? It's a menu option in the custom settings menu, in the focus settings, in the A settings. I don't remember exactly which one, but what it means is that if you've set the camera to do subject detection in manual focus like I do, and you set it to have the OK button zoom to 1:1 on the focus point or the detected subject. In my case, shooting people or wildlife with this camera, if it sees an eye, you can hit the OK button, whoop, it'll zoom on the eye, keep the eye tracked in the frame while you manually focus with some of the amazing, really wide aperture manual focus lenses out there like the 51.0 Voigtlander that I love. And then instead of having to press the OK button again or fire a frame without being able to see the whole frame zoomed in, just a half press of the shutter button cancels the magnification and you're back to your fit view to fire. So you just you find the eye, you hit the OK button, it zooms into 100% and tracks it, you focus it perfectly, half press the shutter button to recompose and fire. I love that. I love not having to move my thumb down and hit OK again to cancel the zoom. Just a small thing, but a really, really wonderful thing. And it shows that they're thinking about how photographers use the cameras and they're listening more and more to what photographers want. And I love that. I think the bird detect autofocus coming to the ZF means for sure that the Z6 III should be getting bird detect autofocus in a firmware update soon. I hope. Well, at least it will be getting it, I'm sure. And it just proves that Nikon really is, there's a whole bunch of video features, there's other stuff, I'll talk about that next week. It proves that Nikon is updating its older cameras to the maximum extent possible and listening to its users, and I just applaud them and say, bravo, they're better at it than most. Okay, Leica's really good too. Just to give them, not to disrespect them. There are other brands that I think really could learn from what Nikon is doing though. All right, so let's talk about what is going in the bag to Costa Rica aside from the ZF with that 24-120 lens that's mounted on it. I'm going to talk through just really quickly the things that are going in my check bag. I am taking my really small featherweight tripod. This is, like a 3.5-pound system that I, use when I don't expect to need a tripod. And Costa Rica is not a workshop where I really use a tripod. I think I didn't use a tripod at all, but you never know. There could be an amazing sunset and I want to set up with the Q3 or the ZF. And you know, the reason I don't need a tripod is how light and hand-holdable this 400 TC lens is. There are many people coming on this workshop that I've recommended bringing the 400 4.5 lens or the 600 PF alongside a 100 to 400 or the 100 to 400 with the teleconverter. You know, this is a workshop where we're photographing small animals in dark trees, so the fastest long lens you've got. I love the fact that my 400 TC throws, you know, the 1.4 teleconverter makes it a 560 f4 with a flip of that lever. It becomes the perfect lens, wide aperture, long, and I'll probably use it for 99% of what I do. I'll just carry it around or sling it off the QD port on my back, ready to go. And so, you know, it becomes a thing where I don't need a tripod a lot. Now, there are people shooting with lenses like this, and particularly the 600 TC, sometimes the 800 PF, although the 800 PF is hand-holdable too, where, you know, they're not quite strong enough to handhold this lens all day, and maybe a monopod is a good idea. And so I'd recommend some of them bring a monopod. But I don't have any problem handholding this for thousands of shots all day long. So this is really just a thing for a group photograph or a sunset with my smaller cameras that I don't know if I'll even use, but it doesn't weigh very much, and I'm tossing it in my checked duffel bag. I've got an HDMI cable to run the television or projector at the Botanica Resort, so we can do image reviews and look at each other's pictures multiple times through the workshop. I've got my cleaning kit with sensor swabs and a sensor magnification light, you know, all that kind of thing to make sure everybody's cameras are running in peak condition. I always bring with me on workshops. And I got a couple of accessories from NYA-EVO that I'll just let you sort of guess at that are some cool new things I'm testing while I'm on this workshop. They've been coming out with some cool new prototypes for me to play with, and I will be doing so on this trip and sharing my thoughts as soon as I can. All right, so what's going with me on the trip? We'll kind of clear the deck of some of, those are empty. I'll throw those off, set some of these things down, and we'll clear the desk space and work towards the kind of piece de resistance, which is, you know, the big checked bag or the big carry-on bag. All right, so it's going to be a pretty small checked bag, just this little lightweight stuff and not very many clothes. It's warm in Costa Rica. So this is my computer bag. I carry my laptop, and I carry anything that has batteries that won't fit in my other carry-on bag. So my DJI Osmo Pocket 3, I love to do video work with, and my little NYA-EVO bag with a small tripod and some neutral density filters for that, plus a spare battery bank for it. It's just gonna tuck in, whoops, there's a loose battery in my bag. It's just gonna tuck in, loose AAA battery that probably should just go on a charger. That's going in my little Gregory Rune second carry-on bag alongside my laptop and its charger and a couple of walkie-talkies so that when David and I are different vehicles with people, we can communicate outside cell range in the rainforests in Costa Rica. And the only charging system I bring for everything, which is my little Minix travel charger, and I have 4 fast USB outs on this so I can charge all 3 cameras and my phone at the same time, or refill my battery bank if I've used it during the day. We'll talk about a battery bank later. And I just carry this on by its little grab handle as my second item that goes under the seat. I've got my headphones, I got my Kindle, maybe a little paperback book. I've been reading a really cool book about Scotland before going on this workshop. So that goes under the seat in front of me. And then I've got my main carry-on bag, which is gonna be the NYA-EVO 60C. Any NYA-EVO bags that have a C in the title are C for carry-on. And I'll show you what's in there aside from my 3 bodies that I'm bringing, okay? And we'll close up the back panel here and start with some of the other compartments in the bag. All right, so that's the easy access back panel. We can have a look around the front of the bag. I've got my little quick access pocket that I can get to at any time, and I've got my sling strap, my QD sling strap, which I can sling any of these cameras from, super quick and simple. And yes, I 100% trust this camera on that QD. People say, do you really carry that around? But I do, absolutely. I've got my Nikon lens cleaning cloth, my headlamp. I've got some Allen wrenches, basically all the types of Allen wrenches that you would use with a red whip, keeping those nice and neat, and some lip balm, all right? So that's all easily accessible in my front pocket whenever I need it here, with my strap obviously on top for sometime when I want to grab a camera and sling it on my back while I'm carrying another, all right? I'm gonna pop these side compression straps and get into the main horseshoe compartment. Something that's very important in Costa Rica, which is the rain fly for this whole bag as a whole. It makes it completely waterproof. This is a durable waterproof coated eco-nil fabric on the NYA-EVO 60C. It's made out of recycled fishing nets, and the durable waterproof coating is environmentally friendly, but you know, it can eventually soak through like any good Gore-Tex jacket. This is a vinyl, completely waterproof pack cover that just covers the whole thing and keeps it dry. I've got a polarizing drop-in filter that'll go right into the filter slot on the 400. So in case I'm working around water and I want to control reflections, I've got that case drop-in filter right there. And cleaning cloth, whatnot. In this little separate pocket, I carry a spare battery for the Z9, which I almost never use. It seems like every 6 months I have a little reminder and I swap the batteries, so I'm keeping them both operating peak before I get a Z9 II or something, but I just never ever swap batteries. I think I've swapped batteries once, and it was in Costa Rica after 6,000 frames. But typically I just plug my little battery bank in if my battery's getting low midday while I'm having lunch. And I've got spare memory cards, a whole bunch of SD and CF Express B cards in case I need to swap. But again, I use big cards and I basically never need to swap. I've got another little multi-tool there from Leo Photo. I'm not carrying my laptop in the laptop sleeve or a hydration bladder. We have plenty of opportunities to drink in the van. So that's that front compartment. This is a completely different setup running the extra large RCI in this bag. If I open the main opening part, this whole thing is removable camera insert with a hinge top that matches the bag's hinge top. All right, that's going to be the access to the 400 TC on the Z9. So I'm just going to turn it so you can see what I'm talking about here and peel my straps back. And I'll show you what's in here aside from the 3 cameras and how those 3 cameras are going in with this stuff. All right, so down at the bottom, I talk about a battery bank. I've got that in new, I'm not exactly sure how you say it, but that battery bank that I did the latest video on, you can check it out right here. I love it. It's power delivery. It'll charge 2 cameras at once. It's got plenty of juice. It's Carryon safe. Charges really fast via power delivery itself, so you can refill it in a few hours, and it'll charge the Z9, it'll charge all 3 of these cameras on my phone up completely during a day. You can run a Z9 all night doing star photography connected to this via power delivery. So, you know, I don't bring any battery chargers for my cameras anymore. I just plug them in via USB-C power delivery, and all 3 of these cameras work beautifully that way. I've been shooting the Z9 since the day the Z9 launched. This is my original. Never a problem charging it in no other way but via USB-C. I don't know how many thousand frames. I've also got my little sensor cleaning blower from VSGO. This thing is amazing. I did a video about it too. I'm going to click to link that right here. On all these, everything I'm talking about is linked over at my website, hudsonhenry.com/ATS links. I've got links to all the gear that I use, stand by, recommend, or sell myself, and all of those links help me out, so I appreciate your using them. You can just run over to my ATS links page. And there are links to some of the things I'm talking about in this video's full description too, and as well as links to that site. But this guy blows sensors off, keyboards, whatever else you want. It's such a strong little rechargeable blower that I almost never do wet cleanings on my sensors anymore. I almost never do wet cleanings on workshop participants' sensors. Instead of doing 4 or 5 per workshop, I find that this blower does such a phenomenal job. It's got a replaceable little filter in the back so it doesn't blow particulates into the sensor, and it just cleans gunk off the sensor that nothing else will. Certainly better than a rocket blower. Pretty much everyone I know that travels with me a lot has one of these now after witnessing what it can do. So I have those sort of stored under where the Z9 and the 400 TC go in my bag. They're just a little buffer between it and the bottom. I have a set of case 82 magnetic filters in here. So I've got a UV, a circular polarizer, a night filter. I don't know if I need a night filter, a 3, 6, and 10 stop neutral density filter, even a 16.5 stop neutral density filter. I might pull that out. And a 77 to 82 millimeter adapter alongside this cool brand new plastic magnetic cap that Case makes. It won't knock off, but it's got a little notch in it, and it's much easier to remove without taking the filter off too. These are in my store, so hit me up about it. I'm selling these are awesome, these new caps. I really, really dig them. So that's something else I'm kind of testing out. I'll do a video about that really soon too. So that's just a heads up about stuff that's to come. So I keep those right there. In this little pocket, in addition, I have a 62 to 82 millimeter magnetic case filter adapter with a spare magnetic cap. I have a couple butt cap and lens cap spares, a couple spare lens caps for the different sizes I'm carrying in here. Actually, all that stuff just ready to go. In my zipper pocket. I think I have another filter adapter. Oh yeah, I don't need that one. I'm not taking the 112 filters. So that I'll set aside, and maybe I'll distribute that filter adapter right up to there. All right, so then speaking of 62 millimeter, what's that for? Well, one of the spare lenses I'm bringing along for macro work in Costa Rica, the 105 MC 2.8 S lens is an incredible macro lens. It has 62 millimeter filter thread, so I just thread that magnetic adapter onto the front of it, and whoop, all of my 82 millimeter case magnetic filters snap right to it. And this lens is magnificent for macro work. We'll do a macro day at a wonderful refuge in Costa Rica with Dennis, and I can't wait. That lens is a must on these trips. Alongside a couple of my favorite manual focus Voigtlanders for the ZF, just to play with photographing people, particularly the 51.0, sometimes landscapes. I love this lens. I think if you've been watching my channel a while, you know I love this manual focus, old school looking, but very modern and incredibly sharp Voigtlander 51.0. And I'm playing around with a new one. Not 100% sure I'm going to keep it, but this is a little 15 millimeter 4.5 Voigtlander manual focus lens. And I'm going to test this one out. One of the things that we do in Costa Rica is we stay in this just spectacularly beautiful resort hotel, Botanica. And I'm excited to kind of run around through some of its beautiful architecture and jungle spaces with this ultra wide angle lens. And I'm not taking the 14 to 24. I'm just bringing the little 15 millimeter Voigtlander. And I might even use it in the landscape. We'll see. So I've got that tucked in there with a big lens cleaning cloth with the 51.0 over the top of it, stretched really tight with one of NYA-EVO's keepers so that it can't fall out, all right? That's essentially it, except that my Leica goes right in here too. I've got a space for it. May have to kind of angle it in the way that I've done this, but I've got a little space for it where it angles in like that. And then again, there's one of these nice keepers. I angle it in there. I stretch this little keeper across and make it so that it can't fall out. It hits the lens. I'll actually probably move that just a little bit. All these things are a little strategic, right? You put it in there, that way you can pull it out, put it back in, pull its keeper across, and it can't fall out. The lens hits. All right, so the Q3 is right there in that little top ledge, all right? So there you go. There's one more divider above that. There's no divider in here, all right? So then I'm gonna go ahead and just zip this closed. And what we're gonna do is a bit of the piece de la resistance, which is putting the 400 TC and the Z9 in here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna kind of cantilever this up and set it down like that, all right? There's two more cameras to go in and they both go in the top. When I set this down on the ground, it's really easy to access, load and unload the bag this way, all right? So with my 400 TC, I like the long Hoodman single piece hood, which goes onto its adapter. I've got the Hoodman pinch cap that replaces the kind of bag that goes over the front of these lenses from Nikon. That goes in and fits nicely under my favorite foot for the camera, which is the Leofoto QD ported, nice padded hood or foot. And then I'm gonna rotate this into kind of an angle down here where it's out of the way at the bottom corner of the camera, but leave it kind of loose and just slide this guy in. It goes, it's much easier with gravity assisting, but it goes in like that. Sits just like that, all right? And then the ZF, I've got another keeper right here, and it slides in right next to the Z9, like so. Then the whole thing just zips shut like this, and you got these side keepers that keep it from possibly coming undone. Boom, you are ready to toss this in the overhead seat. Usually right before I get on the plane, to make this bag look even a little smaller. It meets carry-on standards, but to make it just look a little smaller, I'll stretch out my waist strap, bring it around the back side like this, and snap it together here so you don't see the big waist strap. That, or I wear it with the waist strap on as I get on the plane. That's not bad either. And you know, the thing is, when you're carrying a bag like this on to the plane, nobody really bats an eye unless it's a big backpack coming up over your head. They check people with big roller bags, okay? Monster roller bags. You know, you got this on, it just looks like, it's smaller than most of the roller bags that people have problems with being carried on and fitting into the plane. It fits in, no problem. Just as I walk up on the seat, I pop it off, pick it up, throw it in the overhead compartment. Boom, done and done, all right? I usually have it on my back and this slung on my side like that. Nobody even bats an eye. I set this down in the seat, pull the bag off, throw it in the overhead, put this under the seat in front of me. And again, I got my laptop, my Kindle, my headphones, everything I need. I forgot to throw these back in the front compartment. Now I know I'm gonna get questions about, we're flying into the Osa Peninsula. It's gonna be a small plane into a tiny strip. They're gonna have weight limits. How are you dealing with that, with all this stuff? And I will tell you, I get weighed. I pay generally $1, maybe $2, maybe it's doubled and it's $2 a pound extra. So say I have 100 pounds more than you were supposed to bring on the small plane. At the most, it's $200. I don't think I've paid more than 100 in all the years I've been going. So, you know, unless you've got a workshop leader that you're traveling with who's giving you a weight limit, those local small planes, you know, they're going to just charge you a little extra for overage. They're not going to make you leave your 400mm lens in the airport in Costa Rica. And you need it on a trip like this with small creatures in dark forests, moving quickly. You know, you're going to need your biggest, fastest glass. So yeah, I don't even doubt it. One year I brought almost 200 pounds to Costa Rica and got it out without paying that much extra money. I think it was maybe $120 or something. That was one of the first years I went, and I was bringing a whole bunch of stuff, things for friends, other things. So this is going to be a fantastic, fantastic trip. I can't wait to share some of the stories and the images. And whenever I'm out shooting with Dennis Valverde and David Archer, I get nuanced ideas. You know, we go out and shoot for all these days in a row, some of the most complex wildlife scenarios out there. And Dennis is such an amazing photographer and wildlife guide. I've talked about him before. I'm sure we'll shoot a video with him while we're there and share that with all of you. But I learned so much from him because he is out there all the time, and he's not just a great guide. He's a great photographer and a great photo guide. So people on these workshops benefit from David, myself, and Dennis as much as anyone. And I learned a ton from Dennis because every time I come, he's come up with some new idea for the Nikon Z system with his Z9. So I can't wait to find it out and share it with you. All right. Again, links to everything I talked about, they're in this video's full description or over at my ATS Links website. I sure appreciate your using them. I hope you're all staying safe. And oh, one more thing. We're having an office hours. I believe it's on May 13th. It's a Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific. The subject's to be announced, but it's those big free group photography get-togethers. We just had one a couple days ago. It was wonderful. I'll actually link that right here. We had a really great discussion about a lot of things. And I think you might enjoy just watching the conversation. So you can join up those free group photography chats. Leave us a question when you sign up for either Zoom or YouTube Live over at hudsonhenry.com/office hours. And, you know, I hope to see you there in May. We're going to have a really, really good time. I'll be back from Costa Rica, and I'll share some images from that too. Again, the ZF firmware video coming next week. We got more fun stuff in the hopper, some cool new case filter innovations coming as well. So stay safe, stay creative. We'll see you next week.